Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the scary version of the THC Show. I'm not lying. This is serious. I told you it was serious. Legalization is a scary, scary thing. Oh my goodness. When we got told by the politicians after all those years of hating us that they were going to legalize, we should have been very, very afraid. It is a cruel joke for those who thought that they were going to have legalized cannabis, that they could go and purchase or grow to any extent that they wanted at a variety of different prices. They'd stop wasting our precious tax dollars on arresting people. But no, legalization, turns out it's just for the rich, and it's by the rich, and Trudeau is the cartel leader, and it's still prohibited for anybody outside the cartel to be selling cannabis or growing more than 4 plants, depending on the province that you're living in, because some provinces you can't even grow any. Now, that's really scary. 2023 is scary. After the last few years, it's even scarier. 2023 and legalization of cannabis is all about making Trudeau rich and continuing to put the screws to those people that have been working their tails off, putting their hearts and souls into it for all these years, knowing that we had the right thing that we were fighting for, knowing that there shouldn't be any reason why we can't just have it, and finding out that all those levers of power and people of money were not going to let it go the way that we wanted it let go. They were going to take it for themselves, and everybody else be damned. All those people that are just casual users of cannabis, well, we won't bother arresting them anymore. We'll let them buy it off of us, and they can pay a fine up front when they purchase it. All those growers and sellers of cannabis, nope. They're all still going to be criminals in our world, says Mr. Trudeau, the cartel leader. We can still have all of our friends get paid in tax dollars to go chase them down. We can punish them severely for being disobedient. And the new Canadian order of cannabis legalization is being run by a greedy puppet on behalf of a bunch of greedy corporatists. And those that are hurt the most are those that can afford to be hurt the least. The people that really need cannabis. People that aren't able to be helped by the pharmaceutical synthetics and poisons. Those people whose quality of life without cannabis is like being in hell. Those were the people that we really fought for the most part, more than anything else. During my 25 years of trying to get cannabis legal, it was always the medical users that were our main focus. Those were the ones we were protecting the most, and those were the ones we were fighting for first. But not in Trudeau's world. Trudeau just likes the rich people to come and purchase his cannabis so that he can make a bunch of money. And Trudeau, on behalf of all those people who have hated the fact that there was opposition to their attempt to annihilate cannabis out of the marketplace, Trudeau's their puppet. And on behalf of them, he's going to continue all the apparatus of prohibition. And all those people can continue to get paid out of the taxpayer pocket to ruin their families and family members' lives one by one. Find them, arrest them, charge them, convict them, penalize them, or imprison them. It's been the mantra of the prohibitionists for over 100 years in Canada. We really thought it was, well, most of us really thought it was going to stop before we reached the 100-year mark, but that was last January. And you really can't say that this legalization in Canada is an end to the prohibition, because it clearly is not. We have an ongoing overdose crisis of a hard drug supply infected by fentanyl and carfentanil for 7+ years now. People have been dying of those drugs at an alarming rate because they didn't die of those drugs at a very fast rate prior to this. Certainly not enough to make prohibition justified. But for the last 7 years, the street drugs have been poisoned. While at the same time, and just prior to this whole mess, was this epidemic of prescribing of this highly dangerous opioid by the Purdue Pharma Company. OxyContin caused so many more addictions for a couple of reasons. First was they convinced the doctors that this OxyContin was a panacea, pain relief without the possibility of addiction. Now doctors could help their patients. When a patient comes to a doctor and is in pain, most doctors feel that pain. Most doctors want to be able to do something to solve the pain of their patients. They're not happy when they can't. They feel helpless. But when the company comes along and says, hey, we've got the new modern version of pain relief that's going to make your job so much better, because you will be able to actually help all of those people that are in pain. So a big part of the OxyContin epidemic of prescriptions was because the doctors believed what they were being told by a lying and corrupt company, and they thought it was okay to prescribe those opioids for toothaches and slivers and everything else that hurt. And then, over the course of a year or two, it became quite clear that this so-called non-addictive opioid was highly addictive, was being severely misused, and people were dying. So then the doctors were put under great pressure to not prescribe opioids for people and to try to get those people that were already heavily addicted to get them off. So you've got a bunch of people that are not being successfully taken off of their addiction to opioids, running out of options as to where to get those drugs, ending up on the street where we have a poison drug supply. Well, that just adds up to a whole lot of overdosing and dying. Turns out cannabis can be an answer to that, especially in edibles of proper dose. People can be assisted through withdrawal with those edibles. Well, that's pretty huge, you would think. We have a problem created by two different issues, the poison drug supply and people addicted to opioids. We have at least a partial solution where most people are going to be able to find their way through withdrawal with the help of the cannabis edibles. And in the middle of all those three, we have a corrupt government who was never happy about legalizing cannabis, doesn't care about the people that need it daily, is monetizing and weaponizing the overdose crisis. Let that sink in. Our public servants, faced with a public health emergency, have opted to monetize and weaponize that healthcare crisis for their own political gain, their own financial gain, and to stick it to the people that they don't like. Those that aren't as good as them. Those that have found themselves addicted. Of course, not realizing that there but for the grace of nature go them. That addiction happens to just about anybody. If they're put on those particular drugs and they use them long enough, it's just the way it is. The way your body deals with using those drugs involves a neural network inside your body that requires refilling and extending every time you use it and want to use it. And to stop using that, to just stop doing that, causes extreme physical danger. You can die from it. And the suffering is intense. It's why most people don't do it. The majority of those people that are addicted to opioids, be they the visible addicts that you can see here on the downtown east side and on the downtown east sides of all of these communities across Canada, miserable, suffering people, they would all like to quit. But they try and they can't. And that is the big barrier to stopping the use of those drugs, is the withdrawal. And cannabis has the solution for most people to get through that withdrawal. I'm shaking the camera. It's 4:19. So if you don't have it prepared, you got a minute. And for me, I'm going to wrap it up here in a minute. A minute is this. Our government is corrupt. The world we're living in is extremely dangerous and extremely scary. We are at war. Whether we want to be or not, war is being waged against us. It is the most scariest of things, especially if you're ill, to have governments targeting you and waging war on you and restricting the access to the medicine that helps you. These are scary times. Tonight is Halloween. I hope everybody has fun. I hope nobody gets hurt. Be careful if you're using fireworks. Watch out for the children. Drive slowly and carefully once it gets dark in your area. Have as much fun as you can tonight. But maybe tonight's a good night to think about the scary world that we're living in and what we're going to do to try to mitigate that. Thanks for watching the show today. It's 4:20, which means we are at the time of the show where we try to calm down and chill a little bit. And the best way to do that is with Glenn Wells. Hey, Glenn Wells. Oh, no, we don't have Glenn Wells with us today. What's this now? Oh, no. Oh, scary stuff there. Oh, no.
somebody told me I should mask up today.
Oh, scary and funny. That's really scary. Woo! Well, what do we got going on here?
I don't know. Did you know that
you can't
BC
smoke
is
now?
the only... Yeah, I can smoke, yeah. Did you know that BC is the only country or province that does fireworks for Halloween?
Is that
in
right?
all of Canada? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we're the only
They
ones.
should stop doing that.
We're the only one. And you know what? Let's just tell you guys, don't worry about your kids coming home with any cannabis edibles. It's too expensive to hand it out to kids, you know? It really is.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like $20 a pop, and we're not going to hand out 100 of those to kids, you know? So don't be worried so much worried about that.
But if you see a package that doesn't look quite right, have a look at it. Maybe it's a knockoff. Maybe it's a cannabis edible. I don't see any reason why that would be the case. But it could be. So just have a look. If it says THC on it or something like that,
Yeah, just check.
you know,
it.
keep
Like you normally
it for
do.
yourself.
Yeah.
You know, keep it for yourself. The kids can get them later when they're older. Unless, well, never mind. I'm not going to go.
Well, there's a lot of propaganda out there right now saying, take your kids, there's cannabis great.
Oh, I know. They love
The
the hype.
candies look like the candies that we get out at Halloween, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't always. And those ones for the kids don't have the pot rate.
I don't see that as being a thing.
Well, the government does.
Oh, I know the government does.
Oh, I've seen the
So,
ads.
but they have a vested interest in scaring people as much as they can about cannabis every step of the way. That's just the way it is. Okay, it's 4:20. I would have it's 4:22. You know. Ha, ha, ha.
Yes.
What, are you going to smoke with that?
I think like this.
All I can say is my mask is scarier than your mask.
You think so?
I think so.
I think I
Look
look a
at
little
this
green.
thing. Look at this
I'm
thing.
a little sick today. That's why I'm masked up.
Does this look like a 16 or 17-year-old human being to you?
Good
I'm telling
afternoon,
you.
Douglas.
I've aged way before my time somehow here.
Smile. Oh, Brad's smoking some hash. Nice. Some Mr. Brad, was it? Wilson.
Brad Wilson?
No, Wilton. Wilton, sorry.
Wilton.
Yes.
Oh, I lost my lighter.
Oh, yeah. And Douglas is saying happy Halloween to us.
Happy Halloween, Douglas. And that's a scary mask you got on there too. Holy smokes! don't let the kids see you in that. You know. Is it time to revisit my Halloween story because I've told it when it wasn't Halloween?
Well, then let's do that. It's
So,
appropriate day for that.
you know, I'm a weird human being. You know, I think I don't know why, but it's just the way it is. It's how things seem to work between my ears. But it occurred to me several years ago, maybe a decade or more ago, you know, that Halloween's a really weird event, you know?
Well,
You get your kids all dressed up, ideally in a scary costume. That's what you're supposed to do.
yeah.
And then they get together with a gang of other kids, and they go threatening the neighbors, you know, give me my fix or I'm going to mess up your house. Trick or treat, it's up to you, right?
Yes.
It's weird.
It's weird.
And the trick can be anything from lighting their pumpkins on fire to toilet paper in their house to all kinds of different nasty things you do to these
Throw a
people.
bag of poo on fire and you step it out.
Yeah. Then there, and the treats are literally poison for children.
Yes.
Like really, our society needs to give their head a shake. You know, the statistics of obesity and type 2 diabetes are just outrageous. And what are we doing addicting our children to these sugar products, like right off the hop from time? As soon as they can get some sort of a costume on and hold their big brother and sister's hands, they get to go get their own little bag of poison.
Well, you know, I got to give kudos to my dentist. I went today to get my teeth cleaned. He had no candy.
Because I thought
and as a
I've
dentist,
always-
you think if he'd be promoting candy, so he'd have more business.
well, right. I kind of thought, you know, on some deep, dark, secret society level, the dentists were behind all of this, you know.
Happy Halloween, Janice and Richard from Oxford and from AZ. What's that? AZ.
AZ. I don't know.
Is that New Zealand? No.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Arizona.
There we go.
Arizona.
Hey, see?
Home of the Coyotes.
Yeah, Janice is there.
They smoked somebody last night.
Yes.
The Coyotes did.
Thank you,
Anyway,
Janice.
so here's my thing for Halloween is that from the adults' point of view, they're supposed to try and scare the children back as well. And so I thought, all right, in the spirit of that, and based on the true meaning of Halloween, which is get your kids addicted to sugar by sending them out in gangs to threaten the neighbors, that I should scare the kids
Yeah.
about the sugar. So that's what I did. I spent several Halloweens at the door of our family home.
And you would scare them about sugar.
Oh man, I would
Were you
tell
dressed
them.
up as a big sugar cube and you were really
No.
scary or something?
No, I mean I was dressed up as something. I was dressed up as something.
Right?
But no, I would want to tell the kids about the process of diabetes deteriorating your body, where you have to have your limbs amputated, and all the other terrible things that happen because of diabetes. Yeah, something like that. Never trust a guy whose lips don't move.
Having some fun today. People are going, that's a scary mask.
I know it. I just happened to find it on a shelf. Look at it.
Then he has to wear mouse ears or cat ears.
Who is?
You are.
What?
Yeah. What is that? Asia? Did Asia come and drop by and drop his ears off?
Maybe on Halloween I turn into a cat.
Maybe.
Being a cat would be great for a little while.
Black cat family.
I think we're smoking too much weed.
Oh, this is good stuff. So we're supposed to have some fun. Oh, so since we can't use the camera today, we won't be able to go outside.
Oh.
Well, we can carry the laptop because it's going to lose signal.
Oh.
Oh, so I'm going to now instead of at the end, you say, well, we're going to go outside.
So we're having some technical difficulties today, and we don't really think it's us.
No,
we think it's Facebook. Because trying to go onto Facebook and have the camera rotate, it won't do it. It rotates right back again. It'll rotate on other sites, but it won't rotate on Facebook.
Yeah.
So
And then we
I don't know if
tried to
Facebook's just trying to scare us.
Yeah. I think it's fixed now, actually, because I was rotating when I was doing this, but whatever, at least we got the show going, right?
So we couldn't switch from the laptop to the camera at the time when we should go outside.
Yeah, we won't be able to do it today.
Oh dear. Because I wanted to show the people the RV, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So,
all right.
So we've been.
I
think was it last show that we were already being harassed by
Yes.
by the parking
We're
people?
talking about parking people.
Yeah, so the cops wouldn't let us put the canopy up for people to keep them out of the rain. Although the second sergeant here in discussion said that I could put it up if it was raining hard enough. But it was, in my opinion, raining hard enough, and it wasn't, in his opinion, raining hard enough. So we have a little difference of opinion on that. Over the past week, I guess, thankfully, we really haven't had to deal with wet weather. It's dry out there right now. It's a little bit crispy cool, but it's a sunny day. It's quite nice, and we haven't had to worry about the canopy. But at that same time was the parking people there saying, oh yeah, and you can't park here more than 2 hours at a time. And if you're parked on one part of the block for 2 hours, you can't park on any other part of the block for the rest of the day, which I think is bullshit. I think he's lying through his teeth, but that's what he said to me, and I don't care anyway. But I got like 7 tickets. Now, 5 of them were for parking for more than 2 hours, where other cars, including my other car and some of my staff's cars, have been parked for all day long during their shift here, and they're not getting harassed or ticketed. And other cars on the street, the construction guys park all day long when they get a spot. So do my neighbors. Nobody's ever gotten tickets for it. I don't think they should get tickets for it. I think the government's a little bit out of line municipally, that they don't provide people who live and work on a particular street some sort of a way to park on that street, for the day.
Yeah.
But so today we had a cop, a VPD, escorting 2 people from Vancouver Engineering Department.
Oh, really?
So I get to notice that they're here, and I got right here, and I went and talked to them, and they said, you'll no longer be able to park here because we're rezoning this spot
So now you got to move
And
up
I
another spot.
said, well, you're rezoning this spot to include us, right? And he said, no. I said, oh, but you need to do that because we need to be here. And he said, we're just rezoning the spot from the lane down.
Yeah.
I said, so from the lane up to Main Street, I can park there?
Yeah.
They said yes.
Oh, there you go. So we have to park in front here.
So I'll be parked right in front of the store
Yeah.
for the near future here.
Well, that would be okay because if we were doing that today and had that there, we would probably have enough signal to go outside with the laptop.
If there's nobody parked there, we can move it. Because
Yeah, it's
I
just
told
the
them that as
distance.
soon as I could move it, I said, so their reason is that, you know, we've got construction on the other side of the street shutting down a lane. During the day, we just have one lane coming up there. The people in that Chinese old age home that we're not right in front of, but we're closer to them than to here, they would like to be able to have people pick them up right in front of the building.
Oh, I see.
I don't blame them at all.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know, and he said for emergency vehicles to get access. So we had a really big deal here yesterday. We don't know what went on. We still don't know what went on. But for the whole afternoon, there was fire trucks, ambulances, and police parked on the street all over, right out front, dealing with something in one of these 2 or 3 buildings right close to us here.
So, yeah.
Something way worse than just a death, maybe even worse than a murder. I'm not sure. We've had deaths and we've had murders, and it didn't involve all of that presence of people. And yeah, I would imagine there was some access issues as well. So they've decided they're going to take those first 3 spots on the other side of the lane, and they're going to keep them as a passenger zone so that people can get picked up and dropped off, and emergency vehicles have a place to park. And I said, I completely agree with that. That sounds like a
I'll
really,
work
really...
with you, you work with me, sort
Yeah.
of thing, right?
So yeah, it was a handshake and a thank you very much, and I got a bunch of smiles. And of course, I took the opportunity to educate the engineering people and the VPD cop that was there about you know, what's going on with us and who we are and what we're doing and how frustrated we are that we're getting like the opposite results of what we should be getting after all this time of demonstrating and proving how effective what we're doing is for people. It was a really good conversation. I really appreciated that a lot. So that was great. And did I mention that there was an alert here in Vancouver just in the last few days? Toxic drug alert.
Yes.
It's been going on for 7 years, but I guess there's something even more toxic going on, you know, just in the last few days here.
Yeah.
And yet there they were trying to push us out and you know, stop us from helping people. It's just insane.
Well, at least they said you can just move up 1 spot now.
This is a good thing.
That's a good thing.
This is a good thing.
Right,
Yeah.
I hope you got that on video, so in case anybody comes to give
We
you
got that on video.
Good,
And
good.
I had brought out with me the letters that I got from City Council in support.
Yeah.
And the one from Professor Zachary
As
Walsh.
long as you continue to pay your meter, they're not going to bug you. Hopefully.
They didn't say that, but
No,
you
but
know.
he said you can move up.
But he said I can move
So
up and we
that's
can
kind of
operate
like-
from there. And he made comments like, we support what you're doing. We are in favor of harm reduction and what you are doing.
Okay.
That's on that tape. We'll probably release that tape onto Facebook.
Yeah,
at
let me
some
know
point.
where it is, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Sure. I can show
I
you
guess it's
that.
not a tape.
It's video now. Yeah, it's no more video tape.
There's no little tape recorder going on inside the phone there.
That's old. You're an old man.
Oh, I know. Or at least that's my costume for Halloween this year. I've been practicing for the last, 400 shows. You've probably seen that. One of these days I'll get to take the mask off and be the young man that I feel like I am inside behind the mask. But anyway.
Mary Jane says Happy Halloween to you and I. There you
Happy
go.
Halloween.
Yes.
Happy
Happy Halloween
Halloween.
to everybody there.
All
tonight.
Hallows weed, apparently.
Yes. Richard, we can see your comments. I don't know why. Maybe you need just to do a refresh.
He uses the term we very loosely.
Why?
Well, I'm not seeing anything.
You don't see anything?
Well,
Oh,
I
no.
see it.
You are right there.
I'm not watching that.
Well, you should be.
I can't watch that.
You can't watch that.
I
see
gotta
Mary Jane's
think
comments
about
get
what
hard.
I'm going to say next. I can't be looking on some screen and seeing who's over there and
Well,
what they're saying. That's what
They're all
we're
just
for.
saying Happy Halloween to us.
If I could do that, I'd be like Jeremiah. I'd run the show by myself. You know?
Oh,
I
okay.
I
All right.
need you.
You need me,
I
yes.
need you.
I'm here for you, my friend. I'm
Good.
here for you at all.
You've been here for me for a long
I
time.
will be, yes. And Richard was saying that he wasn't seeing any comments, but now he's seeing Mary Jane's comments, so that's
Oh,
good. So it's working for Richard.
All right.
Well, what are you guys dressed up as for Halloween? Is anybody going out in the comments today? What are you wearing as a costume?
There's some really interesting costumes.
Is anybody dressed up as a big cannabis bud?
You watch the sporting
Not
events.
a leaf, but just a bud.
Since Saturday, you watch the sporting events, and I mean, man, everybody's all dolled up.
Oh, is everybody all dolled up?
I would imagine at the Canucks game tonight against the Nashville Predators, there's going to be a few costumes in the audience for sure. Some people are so creative. Other people just know how to put like cat ears on. You know,
just put cat ears or a mask on.
But other people, man, they go all out.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know how they do all of that stuff. That's
I see some pretty good costumes already.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe tonight would be a good night, although Saturday was probably the night to be downtown Vancouver.
There was a lady who did this, I'll see if I can show it here. She did. Oh, what the hell is it now? Of course not. You know, whenever you want to find something, you can't find it, right?
I know. My grandmother had a thing on behind her stove, and it said, "The hurrier you go, the behinder you get." And boy, that stuck with me.
This is a pumpkin.
That is a pumpkin?
Yeah, so they did a Taylor Swift painting on a pumpkin.
That's a big pumpkin,
That's
too.
huge, eh?
Well, what a painting.
That's pretty good. I don't know if you guys can see that.
I think the light is kind of wiping it out a little bit there.
But yeah, that's pretty good, eh?
Wow, yeah, that's pretty good. Looks just like her.
I know,
Except a 400-pound version. When Taylor Swift gets really fat, that's what she's going to look like.
A pumpkin head.
She's probably going to get really fat because she's a billionaire now.
She's 1.1.
She's a billionaire.
Did you know that she only made that? She's the first woman to do that
with
for
music.
Just music.
Yeah.
No lines, no clothing line or fragrances or food. Or
So
anything.
Paul McCartney's got the male version of that going on?
I'm not sure. We'll have to Google that probably.
Whether he did it all through music.
Yeah,
He probably did it all through music.
Yeah, or somebody did it first, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Taylor Swift. Congratulations, Taylor, $1.1 billion. Now what are you going to do, eh?
Yeah, well, she's a billionaire.
I hear she's a philanthropist. I hear that she gives away lots of stuff.
Does,
so I don't mean to give her a hard time at all. But if she's still got $1 billion, she's not giving away enough, I think. That's my opinion. It's easy to have my opinion because I don't have $1 billion. But in my opinion, what I would do if I had $1 billion is I'd pretty quickly have less than $1 billion.
They still say she still has to pay out all of her money, like not all of the billion, but she still has staff that she has to pay.
Oh, I'm sure she has an incredible payroll.
Yes. So that's but technically she's like hypothetically worth that because of what she's done. Yes, right.
I'm just mad that there's billionaires when there's still people suffering so bad.
Oh yeah, well I'm mad
in poverty.
We give billions away to other countries. We can give them smaller amounts and still help people too. You don't have to give them $40 or $50 billion when we could use maybe
not each anyway.
$10 billion of that to help out our poor people and our veterans and stuff like that. So
you know, and it goes fast, right?
Yeah.
When you do the math on it, you know,
nowadays it goes fast.
That $1 billion, you know, in 1 million people, that's only $1,000 for each person. So if you have 1 million, you know, poverty-stricken people, and you gave them each $1,000, well, there's $1 billion, and within 2 months they don't have any more money. They're back right where they were again. Yeah. So it doesn't solve the problem. But you know, we're creative as human beings, and I'm sure that we could find ways to put that $1 billion into things that would last, you know, lifetimes for people.
Like today, I went shopping for my favorite cereal. My favorite cereal in the family box is usually about $8.
Captain Crunch?
No, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
In there, yeah. Anyway,
in there.
$12. It went up $4 fucking like no.
Sorry, Annie Barbie.
I'm not paying $12. You can see me swear. My lips aren't moving.
Your lips aren't moving. So if your lips don't move, did you really swear? Maybe you didn't hear what you thought you heard.
They had 2 smaller boxes for $7, so I took the 2 smaller, so the big one for $12.
I've been looking for my favorite cereal for years. I can't find it.
What is it?
Grape Nuts Flakes.
Oh, Grape Nuts, yeah.
Grape Nuts Flakes. Post Grape Nuts Flakes back in the day was my grandfather's cereal, and I loved it.
I bet you can probably find it somewhere.
No, you can't.
No, you can on Amazon and all that.
They don't make it. Oh, you mean like a 40-year-old box on Amazon?
I don't know.
Would it taste the same? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know if it's 40 years old, but maybe the company still makes it, but in a smaller amount.
No, they don't. No, I'm pretty sure they don't. That was a good cereal.
I remember it. Grape Nuts.
Post Grape Nuts Flakes.
Yeah. When did you just call it Grape Nuts?
So I No, because the nuts are chunkier.
Oh, were they?
The flakes are flakes and the chunks are chunks.
Okay. So I'm gonna get great nuts.
So
on
I
it.
ate Rice Krispies
Yes.
and Cheerios.
And churros.
And that was it.
That was it.
And every once in a while,
Yeah.
I'd go to Grandpa's house, and have post grape nuts flakes. And that was a real treat.
Okay.
So, as a young adult, 19, 18, maybe 20, that's what I was buying for myself. I would
Wow.
have Rice Krispies, Cheerios, and grape nuts flakes. And then they stopped selling it.
Wow.
They just stopped selling it. And I'd
You
look
were
store
buying enough.
after store. I was looking and asking, and no.
You weren't buying enough.
I personally didn't buy enough.
You
That's
don't.
right.
It's all your fault.
Because
All those
Cheerios
great
and
nuts
Rice
people are
Krispies, they
blaming
continue
you.
on to this day because I bought them regularly.
But not enough.
But the grape nuts flakes, it was only once in a while, and that's not enough to keep the line going, apparently.
No.
It's all on me.
It sucks.
Oh, man. So what else we got that's not so funny?
The piece of
There's
paper.
everything on my piece of paper is not so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the fact that Tilray is now opting and being allowed, I guess, to opt for some hemp packaging
Oh, yes.
for their cannabis
They're
products.
trying to get better.
So I mean, better is better than not better, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
And then you got to give them some kudos for that. I'm sure at least they're trying. Absolutely, hemp packaging would be better than the packaging that they're using right now. Oh, I don't have it here right now with me, but I mean, just the ridiculous packaging that they got to put a gram of weed in a jar that's weighted on the bottom. And
That's crazy.
that's crazy.
We got another donation from Steve Nemi.
Steve Niemi, thank you very much.
If you want to show
Niemi.
people what we have, if you open up the drawer, George left you a bag, you can show the people what he got. What he sent us right there. There you go.
So there you go.
Thank you very much, Steve. Our
There's-
monthly donator.
There's those highly dangerous cannabis edibles that the government won't allow you to have unless a doctor is telling you how to use them.
And he said that those are like Coca-Cola flavored.
Oh, yeah.
George tried one already, so yeah.
Not to be confused with cocaine.
No, but they're apparently
Coca-Cola
pretty good, yeah.
has nothing to do with cocaine.
It
Wow.
used to.
At least not anymore. Except I'm sure they're just loving it. That, people still go have some Coke, and all the different other cross-marketing things that go on with that, And so, yeah. And they're not making any money on the cocaine.
No,
I
eh?
like that cocaine.
Yeah, well, it used to have cocaine, right? Back in the 40s,
It
right?
used to have cocaine in it. And
That's
so
why it was so
the
refreshing.
Coca-Cola company, I mean, this is Halloween. We're telling scary stories. So just, get the children out of the room. This is what was happening. Your favorite soft drink company was capitalizing on the euphoric effects or the tranquil effects of cocaine in their drink. It was actually fashioned somewhat after Vin Mariani, which was wine, cocaine-infused wine, which was a big favorite of the Pope at the time, and many of the elites in the Catholic Church, as well as throughout society, especially in Europe, very fond of their Vin Mariani cocaine-infused wine. And so the Coca-Cola company came along and was putting cocaine in with their syrupy mixture and trying to capitalize on that with a soft drink version of the cocaine and wine version. And that was Coca-Cola. And they were allowed to import cocaine or coca leaves and process the cocaine out of it. And they were even allowed to have a plantation of it in Hawaii. I think that's still ongoing, except that there was a disease that hit the coca plants that they couldn't recover from. So I don't think they're actively growing coca there now. I'm not sure. But anyway, they still are importing coca leaf, the Coca-Cola company. They've got grandfathered in very special deals with the DEA and the U.S. government. And so they process this coca and get the cocaine out of it. And then they're allowed to sell, I think it's a third or 2/3. I think it's a third of the cocaine, but don't get me wrong. I don't know exactly how much of it they're allowed to sell, but they're allowed to sell a bunch of it, of course, through proper channels, through the dentists,
Not the people on the
and
street.
here we are tying the dentists back into another conspiracy here, This is, it's Halloween. It's time to think about the scary aspects of our world here. And for me, dentists are right up there. I had horrible experiences as a kid with dentists. And now to find out that they're probably behind the whole sugar part of Halloween, and they're involved with cocaine. Oh, man. Shame on the dentists.
No wonder Coca Cola was so refreshing. You know, it's a boost.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. Dentists are probably wonderful people. They probably don't take great joy in horribly terrifying the young children whose teeth they're yanking from their heads.
There may be some out there that are.
There may be. I like clowns better than dentists, myself personally. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
I just went for a clean today. That's all I need.
Did they make you unconscious?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they didn't freeze me.
I always wonder what goes on when they make you unconscious.
I have this bee sitting beside me.
Dentists are creepy, aren't they? I think kids should dress up as dentists.
My dentist wasn't even dressed
Kids
up.
should dress up as dentists for Halloween and go demand candy from their neighbors.
I just heard a story about a kid who was grounded for Halloween on the day after he went around his neighborhood knocking on November the 1st and asking people saying trick or treat. They would say, well, that was yesterday. He said, yeah, but I was grounded. So I'm here today.
So did he manage to get it?
I'm not sure. I'm sure they probably, some houses may have had some, yes.
So, wow. So if some kid comes knocking on your door,
November the 1st.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
just have some sympathy for the poor kid. He probably didn't deserve to be grounded. I'll deal with you in a little while if you want. And so, anyway, the packaging for cannabis products are extremely scary.
Let's hope that they.
We could have almost started the show on Halloween here with a pile of the different packaging that they use for the legal store, except I ain't buying any of that stuff.
But you know what? We have some inside people who could have maybe provided us some packaging.
We may
No, they don't have any empty packages.
Well, no. Well, they might have empty packages.
Yes,
That's right.
right. Yes.
They're not involved in the packaging side of things.
No, but I'm just saying that
They're
would have
purchasing their stuff already prepackaged.
Yes, but
they probably are
still owners, so we would be able to
Right.
get some of that stuff from them, right? Probably. So.
Okay, we're not mentioning any names
No,
because
we're not.
they
I
could.
know what I'm talking
If
about.
they
You
do
know.
that,
Yeah.
they could get in trouble. I don't really know what kind of rules there are around that.
Well, no, because
giving up empty packaging so that the Pot TV show.
I could pick up that empty package on the street.
You can.
Walking down, people
There's a
throw
lot
it on
there.
the ground, right? So there should be no rule against that because once it's garbage, it's garbage. Or once there's nothing in it, then they consider it to be garbage. I would think.
Well, except that another scary thing.
recycle it.
Sorry for all the scary stuff, folks.
Scary
But,
stuff.
so here's another scary thing: is right when legalization happened, at that same time, Trudeau was all about about eliminating single-use packaging.
Yeah, I know.
And then he rolls out his legalization, and all of this packaging is ridiculous. Like, you don't need all that packaging. But way worse than all of that is that all of it is considered single-use plastics because it can't be recycled.
Yeah.
Because it's had
So we
narcotics
use
in it.
plastic bags and stuff like that and straws, but he can put out more plastic in the cannabis industry.
Yeah. Oh, it's all just.
Sad.
It's as ridiculous as the carbon
sad.
tax. Don't get me going on that.
I was thinking we should get Freddie Pritchard to check out the PC's website on cannabis because he was really up to date on what the Liberals were doing. And it looks like we're PC bound, so
So we're going to ask Freddie to
we should.
to try and promote the conservative platform on
Or just find out for us.
legalization.
What do they got? Because you were right, my
Well,
friend.
you
You
know-
were right.
Legalization is upside down, backwards, and inside out, but it started out with the whole prohibition being inside out, backwards, and upside down.
Yeah.
So here we have things have flipped incredibly. I mean,
So
many of the people that were involved in getting paid tax dollars to prohibit cannabis, to lie about cannabis, now they're CEOs and owners of cannabis companies, and they've totally changed their whole tune. Like Pierre Poilievre, was it Pierre?
PC.
I know it's the
Protective
PC,
custody.
but oh no, this is BC politics.
Yeah,
That's right,
yeah.
Kevin Falcon.
Yeah, he's BC
Kevin
United.
Falcon talking about how wrong it is of David Eby to be imposing these taxes and carbon taxes on people. He's just jumped right on the whole liberal thing of we're gonna put a 3-year hiatus on the heating oil that people are buying mostly in Eastern Canada. No breaks for you out in the West, by the way. But so Kevin Falcon is now trying to get some traction for his new so-called I don't know what, the United.
BC United.
The BC United, it's actually just the BC Liberal Party.
Yeah.
But they don't want to call themselves that because they're trying to hide from who they are and who they've been. And then we've got David Eby coming out and saying, well, Mr. Falcon is like really switched sides, because it was only just a couple of years ago that he was out there saying we got to have strong carbon tax, and all the rest of it.
Yes, yes.
All these people.
And I like how David read his quote.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Just a few years ago, this member of the parliament was doing the same thing. It was,
Exactly.
Promoting it and standing up for it.
Hypocrisy is the theme of the show here on planet Earth and in politics.
Everything he won't do, I'll do.
Until they won't do it, until they do it, and then I won't do it. It's
bullshit.
It's politics. It's I guess it's what you should expect from politics. But just as elected politicians are supposed to be protecting us from the corporate world that wants to exploit us, monopolize things, and all the rest of that, we need to have somebody protect us from those politicians that get elected and the ones that aren't elected yet. That was supposed to be the media.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore.
Voice, to be our voice. Right?
So, we're in a little bit of trouble here for sure as a society. Many of the societies around the planet, I think China's in trouble, I think France is in trouble, I think the United States are in trouble, I think we're in trouble. That it's unsustainable what they're doing here. The hypocrisy, how pissed off can they get the population? It's almost like they're trying to see how pissed off they can make the population without the population being able to do anything about it. And that's what's different now than in decades gone before us, is where the people were able to get together in many cases enough to be able to overthrow a government or be able to persuade a government. And now the mechanisms of change through any type of an uprising are just not there. And everybody kind of knows that, and they've kind of proven that over and over again, that they have the might, they don't have the right. This isn't about right and wrong.
No.
I'm about right and wrong.
They listen to us, but they don't.
Right.
And
that's politics.
And do what they want. Yeah.
That's politics. Is to be able to say, yes, I heard you. Yes, I will respect what you want, and then turn their back and talk to the next person who wants the opposite and say the same thing to them. And then when they actually get into those positions of powers, neither of those conversations made any weight on them at all. It's all about what their corporate masters want of them. And that's this corrupt system that we've been living in for a long time.
It is corrupt. It is corrupt.
It's very corrupt. I told the cop that today,
Yeah.
I looked at him, I said, sir, we have a very corrupt federal government. And he kind of nodded at me,
Yeah, so.
I've been down that road.
Get him out of there soon. We got a couple more years, or what is it? Yeah, I think 2 more years, 2025.
Oh, you never know. He's so far down in the polls at this point that he's not about to call an election until he's not.
Well, he can't.
But at some point he may not be.
Which means he can't be taken out unless the NDP don't back him up anymore. Right now he has a minority government with the support of the NDP, which makes him just over the majority. Right. So together they're strong, right?
He can call an early election.
The NDP will have to turn around and say, we no longer support the Liberals. They do a confidence vote, yes.
No, the Liberals can call an election.
Well, they could, but they're not going to.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what you're
arguing
arguing with me about.
We can call an election, but it's just by the NDP saying we don't support the NDP.
We can't call an election.
Well,
he can call an early election, or he has specific dates that he has to have an election by. Right now, he's so low down in the polls that there's no way he's going to call an election early.
I know.
Unless that turns around somehow. If he found himself leading in the polls, you can bet there'd be a snap election happening.
But right now, if the NDP was to pull their support,
They
from
could do that too.
Then the House has a confidence vote.
Yeah.
And then the PCs and the NDP would get together and say no confidence in the Liberals. Then they have to have an election. That's what I was trying to say.
I know.
We don't have to wait till 2025 for that. We only need the NDP just to say we're done with these guys.
Right, but that's not probably going to happen either.
No,
Until it's politically advantageous.
Let's talk about the dental thing, because we're supposed to have a national dental program by the end of this year, and it ain't going to work. And that's one of the things that the NDP joined the Liberals with, was to get that
The
program.
NDP has also proven themselves to be hypocritical in those respects as well.
Sure.
There was other deal breakers that they had that they did not break the deal. The deal gives them a great deal of power.
Yeah.
And it's not just the power to be able to influence policy, it's power in other ways as well. And I don't know that they want to give that up just yet. If it's to their advantage leading up to when an election is sort of going to happen, maybe, because, you know, if Trudeau continues to be as far down in the polls as he is, when it gets close to election time, the NDP are going to kind of want to distance themselves from that.
Yeah.
So they may pull the plug and say,
we
we don't support this guy, we don't support this government, and they may do that in a way that could be dramatic, you know, before an election is going to be held, so that they can distance themselves politically from him.
Asking Trudeau to be replaced by a new leader in order time for the Liberals to be able to continue power in 2025. So they've been talking about that yet, because they want a new leader.
Yeah,
to have a leadership
all
thing
these
again.
things are at play at this point. We'll see what happens.
He's low in his own standing, like with the Liberals and the caucus. He's really low down there. So
Jagmeet?
Yeah, no, Trudeau. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know.
Not supportive to his caucus anymore.
Well, that whiny little kid who's not telling the truth all the time has worn out his favor within his own party as well. They can see that. Canadians have had enough of it, and all of it's scary for me. You know, Halloween or not, the Conservative government, you know, if they have completely changed or drastically changed from what they were 20 years ago or 10 years ago even, I'll believe it when I see it.
You haven't seen the commercial for
Oh,
Pierre?
I've seen the commercials, both of them. You know,
where he says, when I grew up, if we took $1 from this, we had to do. If we spent $1 more on this, we had to take $1 from this. Like, he's just saying, okay, well, if I'm going to be supporting this, I have to take it away from a social program. Like, jeez.
I've learned not to trust any of them. There's a lesson hard learned. I don't know why.
Thank you, Richard.
You know, and I know why it's a lesson hard learned, is because they're sophisticated at what they do. They're good at what they do.
Yeah.
Any of these high-level politicians,
all these algorithms,
pretty much you go and sit down with them in a room somewhere, you're going to walk out, you know, pretty much a fan. Mm-hmm. They're charismatic. They're charming. Mm-hmm. They will tell you what you want to hear, the way you want to hear it. You know, and they do that all the lead up to the elections. The thing is to eventually learn that this is just the same pattern being repeated over and over again. It's just a new player. He looks better. He sounds better.
He's younger.
But it's just the same old, same old. They're working for the financial elite. That's what they care about. That's their agenda. And what they have to do is say whatever they have to do to get elected in the meantime, because that's the system that they're jinxing. Or they're jigging.
And he married a lady from another country, and she's now a Canadian citizen too. So that's going to go well.
Those are
for
nice
them
commercials.
they're really
I'm
nice.
sure they're going to get him a lot of votes.
Of course they're nice. They don't make shitty commercials.
And he doesn't wear his glasses there. He's got the contacts going on. You know. I mean, he's probably a hell of a nice guy, and he's probably evil as can be at the same time.
We'll find out.
I don't know.
We'll find out usually after 8 years, people get tired of whoever who's in power.
I know.
Right? And then we change it up, and then 8 years later, we'll change it up again.
What are you supposed to do? I mean, you listen to what they say.
Yeah.
You know, and this one now sounds like they're going to do all the right things. And you feel like you got to vote, because if you don't vote, well, now you're not even part of anything, really, and anybody can get in.
It's all your fault.
You know, you got the right to vote where others don't, so you really should vote, and probably you should. But it would be nice if they actually gave us things to vote for, gave us parties that we could really believe in, that we could vote for.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if they weren't allowed to get up and lie to you and tell you everything you want to hear to get you to vote for them. And then when they get into power, they find out that they didn't mean any of that stuff. They're really working for them other people who want your money.
Yeah.
It'd be
later
nice.
on in life too, yeah. I mean, we'll hire you and you're not a prime minister anymore, but yeah.
It's so easy to get jaded in this world.
Yeah.
We've been let down by our politicians decades and what's the word? Administration after administration after administration. We get let down by these politicians, and they have a little honeymoon period. Then they do whatever they want for their corporate buddies, and people scream and yell. And then when the right time arrives, and they've got this much time before the next election, now they start spending our money on us to convince us that we should vote for them again. And people's memories are short most of the time, and they forget how mad they were, a year before, and they go ahead and vote for them again, and whatever. It's just, and if not, if they've had their 2 terms and now Canadians are tired of the same person, then the other party's going to get it no matter what they do. And they just got to say the right. They just got to not.
The right thing.
Yeah, they just got to not lose it for themselves. Yeah. And they all know that. It's all the political game. These are political science students that follow the game. Many of them are lifetime politicians. They know how to convince people. And so it's easy to get jaded.
Algorithms to help these people then with the information to direct us certain ways and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're using highly powerful advertising firms to figure out how to market themselves to people.
Yeah.
They've got handlers, the speech writers, all the rest of it. And it's all just a game. And for anybody who's been paying attention for the last number of decades, that's what you know.
Yeah.
And so now it's hard not to be jaded by all of that, hard to believe anything that they're saying, hard to know what to do. And that's, I think, just exactly the way that they like it. Voter apathy, that sort of thing. And they love that stuff, especially if you're someone who wants to do the right thing. They don't want those people voting necessarily. They want people who are willing to do what they want for their own selves because these politicians are telling them they're going to give that to you. But anyway... Yeah,
politics sucks.
This is a scary show.
Yeah. Scary stuff.
This is scary stuff. For my friend there, landlord, who wanted us to, lighten it up a bit and not be so. It's hard.
No, we told him
it's hard to do.
It's Halloween. It's all Halloween.
I think I gave him one relatively positive show.
Yes.
But it ain't happening.
It says the show's going well.
For a Halloween show of bringing up scary things, I think we're doing a fine job.
The show's going well.
Well, that's not necessarily a good thing.
No.
It depends on your opinion of the wells. I'm sure it's going fine. I'm sure everybody loves it.
We're doing this fine.
So what else? What else is scary? It's scary that the Cannabis Culture Lounge.
Yes.
Is under siege, under threat, in a world where now we're supposed to have legalization, but legalization is so scary that before legalization we had cannabis lounges that you could go to and you could, complain about the government and smoke ganja and find some love and music and all these good things. And now legalization comes along and no, none of that's going to happen. Prior to legalization, we had dispensaries. You could walk in and you could look at these jars of cannabis. They'd hand them to you. You could smell it. And now you got to buy it in a package unseen.
Yeah.
And most of the time you're disappointed. So, scary stuff going on. There's the thing with the Cannabis Culture Lounge. They could really use letters. It's cannabisculture/saveourlounges.com, I think. Something very close to that. If you Google that, I'm sure it'll come up for you. Because Google's pretty smart about these things. Smarter than this old fart. Anyway. So write them a letter of support. I mean, holy smokes, how stupid is it? You get to write a letter that shows the stupidity in not allowing free citizens to have a space to gather in who are cannabis enthusiasts. I mean, that's just ludicrous. The coffee people have a space. The alcohol people have a space. Probably the fentanyl people have a space. And, in the hard drug world where they're doing harm reduction, There's specific spaces like the supervised injection sites.
OPS.
And OPS.
Yeah.
And so, but the cannabis people, they don't get to have a place where they can all go and mingle together and commune. Like, that is just ludicrous. It's insane. If that doesn't motivate you to write a letter and tell the government how stupid they are, I don't know what will. So anyway, that's going on. Another scary thing is that there seems to be pushback happening now on the whole field of psychedelics that has been expanding quite rapidly over the last few years, especially California and Oregon, where mushrooms are being used therapeutically to help people through end of life, through cancer, through addiction, many other pain situations and what have you. And so here we've got now the Coca Cafe, which I think would probably be the original Coca Cafe. It's having to now go before the Board of Variance. And I don't know if it's an open hearing or not, but I'm sure that Dana and his crew could use letters again. Letters are cool. Letters are important. They put your thoughts down on paper, and they can be so powerful. And if you're not doing anything, that is something that a person can do, is they can craft an email, they can craft a letter. And it's not so much the content of the letter, although it certainly can be, but it's the weight of all the letters put together that really make the impact. And so, add your paper to the pile and help make a difference. And it's one way that we can get involved with things, and I really hope that a lot of people will do that.
Yes, support. If you've ever been to the Cannabis Culture Lounge and sparked up a joint or did a bong or hit a dab now, then support them. Write a letter. You don't even have to do it on paper and pen. You can send an email, right? There's email address.
Oh, absolutely. Emails are fine. They can print those off.
Yeah, and with voice to text, you're just talking it'll write for you.
So do a little rant.
Yeah, do a little rant.
Show your passion. Be as articulate as you can.
Maybe if somebody's on TikTok, you can go do a TikTok video and get support that way too.
Lots of different things people can do for sure.
I'm not on TikTok, sorry.
So, one way to address a scary world is to feel like you're doing something about it.
Yeah, and the power of the
and no better day than Halloween to dedicate yourself to doing something about the state of our world, because this scary state of our world that we're talking about today on the show, it's not just a one-day thing. It's not like every October 31st there's these scary things going on. It's like every week that we do the show, there's a week's worth of scary stuff going on, and there's new stuff all the time.
Yeah. Did you talk about Dolph was raided?
So the Drug Users Liberation Front, the Drug Users Liberation Front that we've talked about on the show before, have been very public advocates for a safe supply of the drugs that are involved with people overdosing on the street, and things have really turned. It must be like an advertising exec that gets the big contract.
Yeah.
And it's like, now the money's going to be rolling in, and then some other advertising executive comes along from another company and steals his client.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh man, because they had $200,000 granted to them from Coastal Health to help with harm reduction supplies.
Yeah.
And then because of a little bit of public uproar about the fact that they actually were running a compassion club, where they were helping, people that qualified to have access to drugs that they had purchased and tested, so as to make sure they had a clean supply. Not the ideal way to do it, of course, and that what they were advocating for was an ideal way to do it, but without any other proper way to do it, or way to advocate for it, that was their strategy, and that was a strategy supported by a whole bunch of other prominent people.
Yeah.
Doctors, counselors, harm reduction experts. They have a huge support network, not necessarily for what they were doing, but for what they were advocating for. And so now they've had their funding pulled, and now they've been raided and charged.
And shut down.
Well,
Yes.
probably shut down.
Yes.
You never know, right? we're very resilient here on this other side of the law with respect to these immoral and unjustified prohibitions that are causing all of this trouble. And one of the things that we have a reputation for is doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Exactly.
The law be damned. If
Yeah.
the law is going to stand in the way of saving the life of our brother or sister or both, then the law be damned. And so, what manifestation of DULF may still be helping people that need help, I'm only speculating. I have no inside knowledge. I'm not saying that's happening. But I'm saying in the spirit of the way we've been fighting these things, and the members of DULF are members of Van Du as we are here, and there is a spirit of making sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect those people that are being harmed by these bad laws. So we'll see what DULF's next move is and where they're at, or maybe we won't see it. Maybe they'll have to be driven back underground again, which is a shame.
It is a shame, yeah.
It's a shame.
Even though they weren't, doing the prevention that you're doing, they're still trying to help and make sure people, if they needed that.
Oh man, their hearts are in the right places.
Yes, exactly. I was trying to say, yeah.
It's a touchy issue when you're talking about addictive, dangerous substances, but you're balancing that with the right of a human being to make choices for themselves,
Yeah.
and whether or not it's the right of a public servant to interfere where no other person is being harmed. These are touchy areas for sure.
Yeah,
and the way that the government's been trying to do it for the last 100 or so years is not what works, is not what's right. It really needs to be rethought and redone in a much more humane and realistic way, allowing a lot more autonomy to human beings, and then those human beings will, believe it or not, make better choices than what they make when they're being oppressed and bullied and pushed around and told what they can and cannot do. So prohibition doesn't work. I think it's high time, no pun intended, that we figure out what does work.
Do you think that maybe eventually, since we have such corrupt people in the government, that maybe AI will take over government and it will be able to be corrupted because it's not human? We keep asking for another government. Are we asking for something like that? Right? Because it would be a machine. It wouldn't be able to be corruptible or say, hey, we'll give you some more money if you go our way, sort of thing, right? So is that what it's going to end up being?
So this show for me is about seeking truth.
Yes.
And I just really have to say the truth about this for me is I really don't have enough information. I can't properly speculate as to what might happen, in such scenarios. We're going to find out relatively soon.
The United States government just signed an executive order to slow down AI because it's going at warp speed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
See, AI will grow and evolve based on its ability to grow and evolve.
Really fast.
And that's a pretty big ability.
Yeah, it's scary.
So,
it's really scary.
And with governments thinking that they can just put regulations to curtail the speed at which these things evolve, it's fanciful at best.
Because they're scared they might lose their job to something that's not corruptible.
Well, they're in a position where they're going to be getting some pressure to do something about it as people, are impacted. There's going to be, obviously, anything powerful has both positive and negative.
Yeah.
And this whole AI thing is extremely powerful. So it has extreme positives in the way of possibilities and some pretty extreme negatives with respect to the possibilities.
It's something we'll have to hope and pray that our kids are safe after we're gone, and
I don't know, Glenn.
Yeah.
I think more than half of all previous generations in almost all cultures have believed that their generation was going to be the last generation. But that is an extremely popular belief that the world's not going to survive much longer than your lifetime.
Yeah,
because
well,
of
my
whatever.
parents
Right?
thought that too, and I'm still here.
That's what I'm saying. It's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, as we continue on and past these deadlines of our own demise, the world gets much more complicated by the moment, for sure. And where it's all going, I really can't say. I don't know.
We're just going to cross our fingers and go, hope and
We'll try to report the truth about what does happen as best we can as we move forward. As for my opinions on these things, I hesitate. Opinions aren't all that valuable most of the time.
They're opinionated.
I think
Opinions,
my
opinions.
opinion is that most of my opinions are pretty bang on, and that you should pay attention to my opinion. But my opinion is not facts. It's loosely based on what I believe to be a whole bunch of facts that I use to come up with my opinion. But take my opinion like you would take anybody else's opinion with a big time grain of salt. So, you know, when you're developing in the womb,
Yeah.
the first opening that develops is your ass.
Really?
So it's accurate to say that at some point in the development of a human, you're nothing but an asshole. And the problem seems to be that many people don't develop much past that. See? Another scary thing to say on Halloween.
There you go.
Oh, man.
All right.
The host is losing it.
All right. Should I wrap up the show or whatever? Or what are we doing? You gonna talk about
I don't
the
have much
CFP?
more.
No, talk
I don't
about
have
the
much
CFP.
more. Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta let me
I'm
know
gonna
so I
do
can
that.
click the button and end the show when you're ready. So
All right.
I will disappear and let you have
go
the
ahead,
speech.
I'll,
All right, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Or before that,
Yeah.
as things go. You people I get to see, or you get to see me once a week. I don't actually get to see you, and I'm really disappointed about that. It'd probably make it a lot easier for me if I could see you. But I certainly do welcome that we have a number of people that pay attention to the show and watch the show, because I think it's really important, the things that we're talking about. Now, that's just my opinion. Whether that's a fact or not will be determined later on down the road. But in my opinion, these are serious times, and we're touching on some pretty serious issues, and that, it's important that we manage to get the message out. Because as I mentioned earlier on the show, it seems like the mainstream media has now been co-opted by that same corporate elite that's co-opted our governments. And we don't have the protections that we should have from those people who are supposed to be giving the protections that we should have, from those people who have far too much money and far too much desire to control human outcomes and feed off of all of the people that they can exploit and use to produce and consume for their wealth and benefit. This has gone on forever, I'm sure. It is nature. Those that have the power bully those that don't, and I'm sure that's been going on throughout all the different animal species, throughout all of the different evolutions of life as we know it on this planet, and perhaps on other planets as well. Perhaps it is just as I say, nature. But overcoming nature is what defines us as civilized human beings, as opposed to the other creatures on this planet, and perhaps on others, that nature dictates that when they're desperate, they take from others. If they're in power, they bully those that aren't. That's the hierarchies that develop in the different species, and that is what is natural. So we as human beings are just carrying on with what is natural for creatures to do. But we strive to be civilized. We strive to override those natural instincts to take from those that are less fortunate simply because we need it and we don't respect them or we have more power than them. How we, for the most part, evaluate what we are as human beings with respect to ethics and morals is the ability to override our natural lower instincts to be a bully if we can be, to take from those that can't protect themselves if we need it, but to be better than that. To allow for our energy, our currency, to be the feelings that we have moment by moment about who we are and how we're conducting our lives. I think it's a wonderful thing to strive for. And perhaps it's the natural way of things after all, as we are just naturally evolved creatures from this evolving, ever-changing ecosystem that is planet Earth and has been for the last 4 or so billion years. And in that vein, we do what we do here at Pot TV. And I do what I do here with our show. We try to promote discipline, ethics, morals, hope. Hope that the truth will win out over lies eventually, that love will win out over fear eventually, that the future generations can have improving lives as opposed to deteriorating lives. If the corporate agenda is to have their way, we will be serfs, barely budgeting every month, angry, confused, drunk, sick, fodder and chattel for them to use. But if we and those who are like-minded with myself, and there are many, we are legion. If we have our way, then love and respect for other people will win out. And this is a very, very important battle. It is probably the battle that is being fought by human beings as we move forward. Do the bullies win? Do the greedy win? Do the well-leveraged and sophisticated win? Or can the masses of people be given the respect they deserve as sovereign individuals? And can they win? Can we win? Can we win a form of governance that is limited, accountable, and transparent, with public servants who recognize that their responsibility is to protect the rights and the freedoms of each sovereign individual? That's yet to be seen. I hope it can happen. I do have hope. I have hope in all of you that are watching this show. And that's why I thank you for being interested in what we're having to say here, for being part of our team, for doing your part, for at least paying attention, because that's the first step in being a part of the solution. So just to recapitulate, I think it's harder and harder to encapsulate what this journey has been for the last several years. In February, it'll be 7 years since we started handing out edibles to people to address the overdose crisis, to give people something else to use besides the hard drug, and to give them a way to get out of the addiction to those hard drugs by getting through withdrawal with edibles. That's what we did, and that's what we've been doing. And, you know, there's good news and bad news. The good news is we've successfully demonstrated beyond any doubt that this is a viable intervention, a viable strategy, a harm reduction method that works well for many people in accomplishing the goals that we're trying to get here. Bad news is, despite that amazing demonstration that we've been putting on for 7 years, the world is so corrupt. Even the Canadian government is so corrupt that we're still being denied licenses, being harassed, being threatened to protect those corporate interests. and nothing else. There's practically no other reason given. Oh, doctors have to be on board to, help guide the use of those edibles for people, or they can't have access to them. That is ludicrous. Doctors aren't trained, first and foremost, for how to guide people through the use of edibles. And if they were, it wouldn't take much, and they wouldn't be doing much. They would instruct their patients to take a small amount for a period of time, and then based on how they felt, which only they can know, they can up their dosage slowly until they find a dose that works well for them. And typically you do that by taking a dose that's a little bit too much. But if you're starting low and you're going slow, when you get to that dose that's a little too much, it's not terrible. It's easy to back down on the next dose, and it's not bad at all. If you jump in to a dose much larger than you're familiar with, it can be frightening. It can be like Halloween any day of the year. Scary. So that's all a doctor needs to tell anybody, and that can be written on a package if you're going to get it from a retail outlet. Start low, go slow. Don't use heavy machinery. May make you drowsy. That's all. Other than that, your tolerance is going to be vastly different than many other people's tolerance. And only you will be able to find out where your tolerance is by going on the journey of using it. You don't need a doctor sitting beside you. Sometimes it's nice to have a close friend.
Unless the doctors use cannabis.
It's okay if you have a doctor sitting beside you. I got nothing against doctors as people, But in any case, this is a corrupt world, and this is a corrupt country, and we have been, as citizens of this country, under siege by the corporate elite of this world through the public servants, as they like to call themselves, that we elect and pay to serve us. And that corruption has cost us dearly. We are in an economic crisis right now, and a large part of that has to be attributed to the billions and billions of dollars wasted on trying to enforce unenforceable laws about people having access to cannabis, and the many more billions of dollars that we were not able to access by having cannabis plants as part of our economy, as part of our agricultural output. So valuable. Cannabis is so valuable as a euphorant and a medicine, of course, but as so many other things as well, all of which have been stifled by the lies and the treachery involved in trying to annihilate cannabis from the marketplace by those who want to profit on patentable items, and by those who want to profit on the attempted annihilation of the plant. It has cost us billions and billions of dollars. And all of that has had to have an impact on the daily lives of citizens and how much money they have at their disposal and how they're able to feed their families. It is extremely immoral that this is continuing, let alone how immoral it's been for all of this 100 years in Canada. Public servants, co-opted by corporate greed, imposing their will on the citizens of this country and costing us billions and billions of dollars and ruining millions of lives, relationships between families, so much more. It goes on and on. I don't find there to be much more scarier in our environment. There are things that are more violent, as different groups attack other groups in violent ways, and there's violence in our society. But this subtle violence, used to drain our pocketbooks, to leave us in poverty, to harm us in many ways with fines and imprisonment and stigmatization and denial of access and all of those things, the accumulated damage far exceeds almost any other thing in our society. It's generational. It has torn families apart and ruined people's lives for generations. As parents are imprisoned and lose their ability to work and make money to support their families and lose their housing, the children are directly affected. And that can last generations, and it has, and it is. These are very scary times that we're living in. Halloween aside, life is scary. Governments are scary. Corporations are scary. The universe is scary. But I don't recommend living in fear. I recommend being aware of the dangers in our society and how scary it really is for many people who are suffering direct consequences of war and famine and economic crisis. But for all those who can't, those that can should. Live your life. Be as productive and as happy as you can. For those who can't. Don't be disrespectful of those who are in misery, but it doesn't help to be in parallel misery. It helps to be able to function. It helps to be able to move forward and do what we can to make the world a better place for the generations that are coming up behind us. And we can all, each of us, do something. Certainly we can just not be part of the problem. Use love as our default instead of hate. Be kind to people every chance that you get. Further the agenda of love and enlightenment. And by enlightenment I mean stoicism, positive attitude, how to live a healthy life mentally, physically, and emotionally. Because we are the masters of our own individual lives. Despite the outside forces that are scary and that are trying to manipulate us into fear, we are the real masters of whether or not we succumb to that. How do we feel is up to us in many cases. Because we have the ability, if we're disciplined, to focus our attention from one thing to another. And if it's not doing any good to focus on things that make you feel bad and are miserable, then I recommend you don't spend much time there. If it motivates you and you do positive, good things because you feel miserable and not happy, good. And I'm sure the very act of doing things because of that motivation will improve your mental state. But for each of us individuals, it's up to us to live our lives. We can't control what happens in most of the rest of the lives around us. We can have some influence, and I recommend we try in some ways. I think there's only two types of things in life, those things you can change and those things you can't change. Don't worry about the things you can't change. At least don't spend a whole lot of time being miserable because of it. And of the things that you can change, there's two types of things. There's those that are worth the effort, and those that, if you got the positive outcome, what it took to get there would have been far more than it was worth. Don't worry about those things either. But those things we can have influence over, those things we can change, those things within us, that's what we should be working on. And I'm hoping that you are. And I want to wrap this up. Not easy to do, it seems. There's so much information. Every week I like to give a little description of what it is that we're doing here and how it all got going and some of the stops along the way. And it's a long story. 7 years now of ups and downs, mostly downs, I would say, with respect to government, mostly ups, I would say, with respect to the people that we're helping. Quite the dichotomy of different things going on here. We started because I knew cannabis edibles would help people in the way that they do. Many people agreed with me and came on board, and I got donations from dispensaries and I got volunteers out of the woodwork. And we've been running this program for 7 years of providing those things that are donated to us to the people that use them, to not use the other hard drugs, to get off of those other hard drugs. And that is the Cannabis Substitution Program. It started with a cooperation of Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, 7 years ago this coming February. For 3.5 years, we operated outside of their building, using their lobby, to people that would just line up and take a pack of 4 to 6 edibles and a couple of joints. And after 3.5 years, we had achieved a motion passed by City Council to support what we were doing. We had a meeting with City Council. We agreed we'd find a storefront and get into the storefront, and we did. Not too long after that, we were informed that, well, the city won't support us in the storefront until we get a license through a higher level of government. Turned out to be Health Canada. We applied to Health Canada over 3 years ago now. We got delays and stalls and intents to deny. And now we've had a final refusal of their permission to do what we've been doing for just about 7 years. Tens of thousands of milligrams of high-dose edibles being dispensed to people using them to get off of hard drugs and have better lives. And they're not going to give us permission to continue doing that, and by doing so, they're telling us we have to stop. Well, we're having a judicial review of that coming up in the new year, although we don't have a date for that yet. We will be having a constitutional challenge also coming up in the new year, also waiting for a date on that. And we'll see what the courts have to say about whether we should be now abandoning and turning our backs on the hundreds and hundreds of people that have come to rely on us, who will be scared sideways if we're forced to quit. Legalization was a cruel joke on cannabis consumers, but it was a bloody nightmare for the medical users. When legalization shook down the way that it did, and it meant that all of the medical dispensaries were going to be shut down, and most of them have been, and that the government dispensaries were going to be, by their own definition, non-medical, ripples of fear made their way through the medical community. And it has proven to be every bit as frightening as what they thought it would be. People right across Canada who were getting access to cannabis medicines have been denied access and access restricted. Many of them are dead. Many of them are suffering still. I know personally people who just have such a hard time getting what they need because of the government corruption that prevents access. My good friend Alison Murden, for example, in Ontario, a former corrections officer, struck with multiple sclerosis and tic douloureux, living life in the most serious pain known to humans from a wheelchair for the last couple of decades, constantly fighting to get access to the cannabis medicine that she needs. It's disgusting. This whole thing is so disgusting, it's scary. It's so scary that we need to do something about it. We can't just sit idly by and allow for the stripping of our rights and the harming of our families to continue the way that it's been going on. So the Cannabis Substitution Program, forced out of the storefront by a city that will give us a license if the federal government does. 3 years of waiting for a federal government who's not the least bit concerned about the health and well-being of the people that we're helping. Their only concern is the health and well-being of the bottom line profits of the government scheme. Disgusting, so disgusting it's scary, even when it's not Halloween. So we continue, because how could we not? Kicked out of the store, threatened by a licensing department, a landlord who had to succumb to their threats because his lawyer told him he better. They're powerful, they're scary. Moved into an RV. We've been providing our service of cannabis edibles for free to the members of the Cannabis Substitution Program and for sale to those people that would come and support us so that we can afford to continue to pay rent on the store that's part of our application, because one of these days, even despite the final refusal, there's still a really good chance, and we still have a lot of hope, that we're going to end up in a storefront, probably in the storefront that we started in, hopefully in the storefront that we started in. But for now, we're continuing to operate from an RV. We have the city's blessing in their unanimous motion to support us. We have the silent support, for the most part, of the VPD, as we're less than a block away from one of their police stations and we're half a block away from the courthouse, and we've been here for 3 years, and we've never tried to hide anything. There's signs on the RV all the time that we're open, talking about what we're doing here. I stand outside and talk to people as they're walking by. I've met the lawyers and prosecutors, I think, and other people involved in the courthouse. We've had numerous conversations with VPD along the way. Privately, most of them encourage me and tell me to keep doing what we're doing here. But we were arrested because that was what they directed to have happen. We were charged, and now we're before the courts on that, as I had mentioned. But we must continue, and we will always continue. Because how can we not? As ethical, feeling, living, breathing human beings, to be responsible for supplying the needs of hundreds of traumatized and marginalized and, poor people. You can't turn your backs on these people. You couldn't do that. I'm sure any one of you out there watching, if you were in our shoes and you'd gotten to know these people like we have, because we listen to their stories, we let them tell us about the traumas in their lives and how they got to be where they are. And we're not going to say no to helping those people when we're fully able to help them, just because we live in a corrupt country with a government that's more worried about making money than they are about actually helping the poor people that really need it the most. So we will continue, and we are continuing. We see hundreds of people every day. We provide cannabis at $1 a gram, 5 gram maximum per person per day, joints for $1, edibles for $2, and other prices a little ways up to help support it all, to help pay for it all. Extremely important work that we are doing. Work that any rational human being, if they investigated it, would understand why we feel the way that we feel about not being able to stop helping these people. and that we're going to continue to work to try to force the government to allow these people to be helped. The way that we're helping them, and even better, is what needs to happen. So we can't go outside because of technical difficulties today. I can't show you the RV. I can tell you that, we have been harassed. We've gotten a number of tickets lately. They're trying to move us along, likely as part of the street sweeps that's going here, where our horrible mayor has brutally disrupted the lives of the poorest of people here, because it was an eyesore, granted, because it really needed to be changed in positive ways, but certainly not in the way that he went about it, which was to send a large fleet of police and city workers with shovels and picks and garbage trucks and dump trucks, and just rousting these poor people and throwing their belongings away and telling them to go away, without providing adequate housing for them, and without the compassion that these people deserve to be dealt with. It's been really disgusting. And we think that that's what's happening now in the last couple of weeks here, that the Street Sweeps group has decided that we should also go. But we're standing strong in the face of their harassment. The tickets will be paid, although they will be disputed later in a suit against the government for harassment. Meanwhile, I can't park my RV overnight here, and maybe that's a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it was getting vandalized and broken into regularly parked here. But it also got vandalized and broken into when it was parked elsewhere, but not as frequently. So I guess it's okay to be moving it, but it's a lot more taxing on myself, up early in the morning, taking a cab to go and get it and bring it back here, and then at night taking it away and getting a cab to come back, and other inconveniences as well. It shouldn't be there. Minor details. But public servants, if rational and working for us, the people, were doing their job, then they wouldn't be making it difficult for us. They'd be making it easy. And we're hopeful that's what's going to happen in the future. The weather in Vancouver is clear, crisp, cold, and not too bad at all. But it is a bit cold, and especially if you're sleeping outside, and we have people that are, if you walked a 2-block radius early in the morning here, you would come across dozens of people sleeping just in their clothes. Some of them have one blanket pulled over them, huddled up, trying to stay warm in an ever-increasing environment, ever-increasing cold environment coming up here. And the government doesn't have answers for most of these people yet. So that's what's going on. We'll keep on keeping on. I hope that you join us in our fight. I hope that you can provide letters of support for all the different organizations that you support, including us, including the Coca Cafe, including Cannabis Culture Lounges. And that together we can still defeat the monster that's been scaring the shit out of all of us for all this time. For my entire life, I've had to live in fear of governments, police, and authorities because they're corrupt. And I'm not able to live my life in the way that I want without the fear of dealing with these people. So I hope you have a very fun, scary night. In all good fun, fear and being scared can be a motivating tool. In balance, it can be all right. Be careful with the little ones. The little ones take things so seriously. They scare very easily. It can take a whole lifetime to unwind those fears. So be careful with the little ones. Make it as fun as you can. Be kind to everyone. When the people arrive at your door that are a little older than you think should be out trick-or-treating, those are kids that have decided to stay kids a little bit longer rather than go out and cause trouble with their friends. Be kind to those people too. Be fun. Have fun with people. Make them laugh if you can. Find the funny things in life, but also make sure that people understand the serious things in life. Because life is far too serious to take too serious. In any case, enjoy the next week. Live a great life. live your best life. And as always, the most important thing is to have as much fun as you can. We'll see you next week. We'll do it all over. Happy Halloween. Oh.
Your battery is running low. Okay, that's good. And the live video. There we go.